Hi guys, today I want to talk about the concept of depth in the composition. I will explain you how to think about the depth in your track, and I will show you the examples in pro tracks and in my own tunes how I apply this concept into a real situation. So I was inspired to create this video by the book 74 Creative Strategies by Ableton. Dennis DeSantis was the author. You can grab this book from Ableton website. And there is plenty of good advices and resources for music production. So depth in composition. I guess we all know this from videos, photos, that we have different planes in our composition. So here we have a lady, she's definitely in the foreground. And then we have all those bushes and the grass and a bit of water that creates a second layer, which is like a middle ground. And then we have the mountain and the forest, which creates like a background. This is, at this point, I guess, fairly logical, but the magic lies in creating changes and some kind of movement between those layers. And this is what I will show you towards the end of the video, so stick around till the end, because I will show you some cool tricks how you can apply these changes to your tracks. Okay, let's speak about the foreground. So foreground in the music, this will be our lead sound, our main sound. This could be a melody, this could be a bass line, this could be a vocal, or any other like sound design thing we have in our tune. This can be also a percussion. There are tracks which main sounds are based on the percussion. They don't have that lead sound. So it's a matter of composition, what kind of sound you will put in the front. It can be vocal, as I've said, a bass line, a kick is all in techno, always in the foreground. You know, it's punchy, it's there, you know when you hear it. So let's listen to some examples and see what kind of sound is in the foreground. So in this first track, I have the track from Circle called Message to Karika's Cave, and we obviously already hearing this kind of belly sound. Yeah, it gets louder. It's definitely in the foreground. Now the percussion comes and the atmo. But we still hear that repetitive sound which is in the foreground. Then there's another track. Okay, then we have this track from DJ Varsovia, Living Earth, Stephanie Sykes remix. This is definitely a foreground sound. Then we have Quelza sound track, Olympian Orbit. Heavy percussion driven tune. Yeah, so the percussion is here on front. Then there is a bit of lead coming in, which takes over the front plane. Let's take a look at another one. Ambivalent. Gugas. I don't know if this is the right pronunciation. Yeah, again, heavy percussion driven. And we have this kind of atmo, weird phasing sound. And maybe the last one, Conrad Van Orton Sentinel. Again, heavy percussion driven tune. Yeah, this and those kind of hatsy sound. And then we have this lead, which takes the foreground. Okay, so now, as you know, how different producers take stuff to the foreground. What do they put? Let's take a look at the middle ground. And this can be, again, pretty much the same stuff, but it depends. If we had a lead sound in the foreground, quite often the percussion will be on the middle ground. Then we have some second melody, second lead, vocals, atmos, pads, all those kind of sustained sound. They quite often comes in the middle ground, and bass quite often is in the middle ground as well. So let's take a look on our examples. The bass sound is the middle ground, so we got, and then there is this bass sound. It's really well heard at the two layers, front and the middle. The kick is in front. Let's take a look at Quelza's track. We can hear there is some ambience going on. The kick and the bass could be in the middle ground. The hats are on the foreground. Now the percussion is in the middle ground and the licks kind of takes the foreground position. Here, this is the perfect example. Percussion is still up front and that kind of phasing stereo sound is in the middle ground. Okay, let's take a look then on the background, which is the end plane in our composition. And here we'll have all those Atmos kind of textural sound, effects, additional percussions. All those elements will kind of create that, oh sorry, I didn't change that, the background layer for our sound. So yeah, let's hear that in the context. So for example here, okay, let's start from this one. Already in the background I could hear there is a splash of reverb from that kind of flangery hats. And now we have tick 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 tick, this little tiny melody that kind of goes in the background. And those vocals, now they come on the middle ground. Here, there is this kind of Atmos sound, which in my opinion works as a background. So percussion up front, kick, the bass line is in the middle ground, and the foreground is in the Quelza, is in the Atmos sound. Now the real magic lies in the changing the foreground, middle, and the background. So they kind of like morph and move into different directions. So to create those changes in depth, and they create really that magic we want to achieve, this will be achieved by changing the volume of the sound, so making sound bigger, brighter, or lower. Changing the pitch, if we raise the track, we will have it more in the middle ground rather than foreground. If we like open the filters or close the filter, we will move the track more to the front, to the back, or to the front. Actually, more to the front, more to the back. Yeah, all kind of modulations. If we have some stuff that is in the background modulated, we will kind of like get the idea that it's kind of moved to the foreground because it modulates. All those percussion fills will also give a bit of like changes in the depth because of the percussion, which will be probably on the middle ground. We go on the foreground with that fill and modulation. Yeah, so let me show you how I apply all of this to my own composition. So this is the tune I did recently. So this is as you can hear, the kick is in front, and this is our foreground sound, but this is our background sound. And I'm kind of like adding the shakers, which comes to the middle ground, but they move in volume. So I'm not starting with shakers right away. I want to like emphasize them or introduce them gradually. Yes, so that's why changing those depths. And the same is on this operator sound, which again kind of like moves in and enters the scene and comes to the foreground from the background. Now take a listen to the bass line. There's automation on the bass line. Yeah, so for a moment we had a bass line coming in front, which created that depth. Now there is this kind of like tone ambiential sound we can hear in the background, which again, as you can see in the waveform, kind of grows to a track. Yeah, it's brighter, louder. Now we have. And now I have all those different moves of the bass line just to create that additional movement in the depth. Okay, let's move further because I think this is really nicely applied on the breakdown when this sound grows. And now as you can, the operator lead sound will fade away. Hi-hats grew and foiled. Yeah, and now we have like spike in the energy. So that would be it, pretty much the way you can add depth to your music with changing the planes, with putting stuff into different planes with the volume, with the pitch, with modulation and automation. But that's not the end. If you want your tracks to be alive, you need to add a bit of tension. And this is the video, this one over here, when I will show you how to add tension to your tracks in 5 easy ways. Thank you for your attention. Thanks, bye.